Hey, I'm Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver at caregiverdave.com, along with my lovely co-host, best-selling author, and former mayor of Grover Beach, California, the amazing Debbie Peterson. How are you today, Debbie?
I'm great, Dave. How are you? Amazing also?
I'm wonderful. I don't know if that trumps amazing or not, but that's the way it is. But we have an especially exciting show planned for you today, how travel benefits caregivers. Did you know that? Travel isn't just about sightseeing. It's a powerful way for caregivers to recharge, gain perspective, and find renewed strength for the journey ahead. And our guests, Evelyn and Natalie Kelly, I assume they're related somehow.
Just a little bit.
We'll be talking about how travel benefits caregivers. And what else can I say? Well, let's just get going here. We'll jump into it. Girls, so great to have you on the Caregiver Day radio show. And let me just ask you, you've both traveled through all 7 continents. Is that true?
Right.
That is correct.
And 88 countries. Is that true?
No.
Oh, how many countries?
89.
I'm sorry. I hate when I get
We
it.
went to another one since we've seen you and talked.
Yes.
Which one?
Dominican Republic.
The minute I was there. Okay. So tell me one trip that's had the biggest impact on you as former caregivers.
Oh, wow. The biggest impact, that would be, the biggest impact to travel would be to get out of our comfort zone and to get out of our daily stressors. That was the biggest impact. And it doesn't even really matter where it would be, because at that time, we just really could not travel. But what we would do is we would take those small little travels, whether it's just down the road, maybe 2 hours away, just to reset ourselves, or maybe just going to dinner with friends, just to get out and to take that break that we so badly needed, because everybody knows if you become a caregiver, you know that is the toughest job you'll ever have. And I have very stressful jobs. Currently, I have one, but it doesn't even compare to being a caregiver of someone you really love, of a family member.
So tell us about your caregiving experience.
It was with my dad, and we really only had about a couple of months that we had to take care of him. So as you know, with caregiving, lots of times you're taking care of a person, your loved one, a family member, for months or even years.
Yeah.
So we had a very short stint of caregiving, but it was very difficult because he was very large. He wasn't fat. He was just a large man, about 6'2", maybe 220, even when he was at a lighter weight. And so for real small females to try to really help someone that is so large, and is someone that has been so independent all of his life, now to be so dependent on individuals. And he really just wanted us to be the caregivers. You know, we didn't drop him off at adult daycare or anything like that, even though I actually highly recommend adult daycare. Because I just think they're wonderful, and they do a lot of support and help for a caregiver. But it was so difficult because of his size and because of his independence.
You know, we found that actually what happened in our instance, when COVID came, he had been able to get out and go to places he could go eat. And we would go down to this particular restaurant, and he could manage that very well.
Yes.
When COVID came, he couldn't get out, and he never understood why he couldn't go, because he would see his friends there. And he went just downhill rapidly
during
from
COVID.
there.
Never got COVID, but because of the isolation, it really drained him, and then also it drained us.
Wow. Debbie, you got a question?
Yeah, a comment first that my sister-in-law had the same experience with her mother, who was in a I can't remember what you call it, but a facility that was fairly independent living. And, but they were a large family. She couldn't see her family at all, ever. And my sister-in-law says that COVID killed her. It was that same isolation of not being able to be with her family. So changing the subject a little bit, I've heard you mention armchair travel. So tell me about armchair travel. How does that work?
Armchair travel is actually where you are probably isolated, but you still can do adventures. And these could be adventures through reading or through documentaries or these types of things. In fact, I write a column for a magazine in South Florida, and I call it Armchair Adventures. And of course, these are for people that can just, read. But this is what we are thinking about on that. And I have an instance that I can give you. I have a friend who cannot get out of the house at all. I mean, she and her husband is very ill with Agent Orange issues. And so he can't do anything. But she goes on a Zoom into classes, and she takes classes on Zoom. So she does armchair traveling, and it makes a difference in her life.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I really think that imagination really is the superpower for the caregiver. Because with your armchair traveling, you read or you can watch movies of travel that really develops your imagination. And that right there, that instance, whether it's just an hour or 2 hours, can help you break away from your daily caregiving responsibilities.
And I think of that film, The Notebook, and this is where he is giving her adventures by reading to her, and this is an opportunity to help the patient. But I'm sure it also helped him. It helped him stay alive too.
Wow, great analogy. So, changing scenery is very helpful. I mean, I've been a caregiver for 29 years, and I always like to do something just to change things, stir it up a little bit. Let's go over here. We've never been to the Reagan Museum. Let's do that or whatever. I'm very fortunate she's in a power chair, so she is very mobile, even though she can't walk. And we have a van with, a ramp and everything. So thank God for all of that stuff. Talk about changing scenery. Why does it help caregiver burnout?
But I just start here. And this is an idea that we came across. Pinpoint where you live and then make a radius of 50 miles and sweep it around in a circle. And you will find probably there are places that you can go, like you could take the person that is in the chair, or that if it's something you just needed to do, but you could take that person. Very short places around your home, and I know within our 50-mile radius, we probably have 50 places
Right,
that we could go.
that we don't go.
We don't go.
Because again, you're
know
in
they're
your
there.
comfort
Yeah.
zone. You stay in your comfort zone, but we have all these places around us that we don't go. But we really encourage people, especially caregivers, to take that initiative just to get out, to get away, to break free, not just physically, but mentally. Because to us, travel, whether it's overseas or whether it's in the United States or whether it's just within, a mile, travel really enhances your mental wellness. That is extremely important, and especially for a caregiver.
It's so true. I know people who live just practically around the corner from Disneyland. I know you've got Disney World in Florida, but can you imagine living right around the corner from Disneyland and they've never been there?
Oh, yes.
And I bet you anything, a 50-mile radius of my stuff, I can find a whole bunch of stuff that I've never even known was there.
Exactly. And what we do is, and in fact, I just did this about 2 weeks ago. I spoke at a caregiver conference, and we actually talked about that very thing. Let's just Google. Let's all get our cell phones and Google right here, and it was in Orlando, within 2 hours. Let's make a list of all the different places that we can actually go. And that list was actually over 75 strong. So there are 75 different places just right there that you could go. But just really, frankly, it's to get away. A lot of places aren't maybe the best places to go. Disney World, that's real expensive.
That would be tough to
Very
do.
expensive.
But there are
there's
others.
just incredible places around that are actually for free. Whether it's environmental places like the springs or things like that you can go to just to sit down and relax. The environment is one of the best places to go just for a caregiver to relax. Is just,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why people love going to beaches.
No.
Look at your beautiful background there.
Yeah.
Because we need that environment. We need that, just not that we even have to be in it or sitting on the sand, but just watching it or just hearing the waves break. Is a way of getting away from our daily stressors.
Yeah, and we live by a place called Descanso Gardens, which is simply a rose garden. And even I went to school at USC, and right across the street from that are these magnificent rose gardens. And I never realized how peaceful and interesting it is just to go and walk around, like 50,000 varieties of roses, and the smell. It's wonderful. There's so many things you can do. What do you think about that, Debbie?
Well, I know you've talked a little bit maybe about specific types of travel that benefit caregivers or small doable experiences that caregivers can fit in. Was there any other suggestions along those lines?
For travel for caregivers, well, let me just I'm going to give you just a little bit of example of what I've been working on for caregivers. I actually represent in the Florida legislature caregivers. I make sure that the money, we get additional dollars every single year for respite services all around the state. And so with these respite services, then individuals that are caregivers can actually put their loved one their family member into an adult daycare or home health agency. And then that way they can actually go to work, or they can go shopping, or they can just do daily type of chores that they normally can't do. So what we do is we actually do two things a year with these caregivers. Number one, we do have a caregiver forum where we take them to actually Daytona Beach. That's what we did a couple of weeks ago, where we actually have times for them to go through some trainings or to have a relaxing massage or to go to the beach and just relax. And we take care of their loved ones overnight so that they're able to take this time off and do this. Also, what we do is we take them to Tallahassee. Now, why would you want to take a caregiver to the state capitol? Well, we do that because they are actually involved in the legislative process, and they actually get to advocate legislators and leaders on the importance of respite services and how important it is. And they actually get to testify and to explain to legislators one-on-one why it's so important. To us, that has been so beneficial, not only for the caregivers to get away and to leave the Central Florida area where most of them are from, and Tallahassee is like a good 4 hours away, but also it's a great way of educating our legislative leaders and telling them the importance of caregiving and how important it is to keep these dollars flowing through all the way around the state of Florida and continue increasing those funds. That is so critical. And these people in Florida are able to actually benefit, but make a difference. And they see it. And they actually get to see every year. We get $3 million, $6 million, $10 million increases because of their efforts. What a difference that makes.
You are a writer, yes,
Yes.
and a speaker. What's your latest book, and what do you speak about when you're on the road?
Our latest book is called Have a Love Affair with Travel, Your Ticket to an Exhilarating Life. and we go on the road. We do actually. We sometimes will do this theme that asks the question: is travel the new
Fountain of youth.
fountain of youth? And we give them some information about some studies that have been done. Now we try not to do too much because you don't want to go into a group and do too much on these studies. But we do that, and then we give them examples that we've had in traveling. Now most of these are overseas travels that we utilize in this book, but what we have coming is a new book called Have a Love Affair with the USA, in which we are going to pinpoint and do a similar thing only with the United States.
And that's really important because we do want people to travel around the United States. You know, this coming year is our 250th anniversary of our great country. And so because of that, we are really encouraging people to travel. Now, we want people to travel overseas because if you don't travel overseas and you don't go to different countries, how do you know how well we are or what we're doing here in our country? And I truly do believe that because I always stand for the national anthem, and the reason is because I've been to Russia. So I stand for that national anthem. But in our book, Have a Love Affair with Travel, we have 79 very short stories that really take you to a different place, to exotic places. It's not like Rick Steves, and bless Rick Steves, we all love him. You know, he'll talk about where to go and what's the best coffee shop and so on. But we don't do that. We really provide adventure. And we talk about going to the Galapagos Islands, to Antarctica, to Australia, to Ireland, kissing the Blarney Stone. So these are unusual, different types of articles. So we have 79 of them. And at the end of each article, we have a tip that relates to that article. For example, in Tunisia, we were there during the Arab Spring. And I don't know if you guys recall that 15 years ago. That was chaos over there in the Middle East. But we did not even know that. But if we would have done our homework and if we would have looked at the Department of State's website, we would have known what was happening. We were fortunate. We got out the last flight that left Tunisia.
Wow.
They told us, do not miss this flight. We did not even know why they were doing that. But now we do know. But so each one has a tip. And then at the very last section, we want people to travel, and we want them to travel stress-free. And so what we do is we go through it step by step on how to travel, how to have a stress-free travel. And we do that so that you're able to do things that you can't Google. So we have tips that you can't find on Google.
And Debbie, I would like to mention your armchair adventures. This is kind of what we have. The idea in our book is they're short.
Yes.
They're not maybe 500 to 600 words of the things that we experience, but it's something that somebody can read. They don't have to read a whole novel or a whole
A book on travel.
Travel, but it's short experiences that they can use, and they can pick them out because they're not necessarily related.
So those are kind of almost virtual experiences. Now, does that provide the same mental refreshment as going to, well, maybe not Russia, but as going somewhere?
I think so, because I can read a book like I've just had one that I've read about people dealing with the Second World War and living in Nazi Germany. I can really relate to that. So reading, you do relate to people, and you can internalize it and begin to think, hey, look, this is interesting. whatever Natalie tells you about going to the Galapagos Island and seeing Diego.
A tortoise.
Diego is a tortoise.
The sex crazed tortoise
He is
he fathered most of the tortoises on the Galapagos Islands, and that's what the post called him, the sex crazed tortoise who fathered the tortoises on the Galapagos Islands. Yes, that is Diego. And
then looking at Lonesome George, who none of the ladies would have anything to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he was called Lonesome.
But he passed away.
He died, but he's the one that had a lot of attention. He was the star. He was a publicity hound, you might say. Yeah.
Well, tortoises live for a long
And
time.
George died of a broken heart.
It sounds like it. What's your opinion of these cruise ship nursing homes, where people say it's cheaper to just buy a year cruise than to go into a nursing home? Is that true? Do people actually do that?
Yes, actually, people do that. There are companies that specialize in that. Frankly, we have occasionally talked about how we just sometimes just want to get away, and maybe that's what we could do, just kind of like the rest of our lives. This is the way I see it. If that's what you want to do, then do it. Because you're going to be traveling and seeing things that nobody else is going to be able to see. And if you feel that that's kind of at your last phase of life, why not have that opportunity if there are companies that specialize in that? I don't have any issues with that at all.
And you're a promoter of bucket lists, I'm assuming.
Definitely, because we definitely have ours. I want. Okay, so my mother. Okay, so I have to tell you this. We have goals, right? And I'm going to give my mom the opportunity to tell you her goal.
My goal is I am 90 years old. Next month, I will add one more year.
Wow.
And we have been to 89 countries. My goal is, by the time I am 100, to go to 100 countries.
Wonderful.
Isn't that wonderful? That is
I
wonderful.
love it.
That's what we all should be doing. And just because we're at a certain age doesn't mean we stop with life. Let life begin at that phase. There's nothing wrong with that. We ought to live it while we're alive. And I think that's wonderful.
And even if you get a bad diagnosis of health or something, you go on one of those cruise ships. In 1 week, you can visit 40 countries, right?
I don't know if you can visit that many countries in 1 week, but you certainly, in one of those type of cruise ships, you certainly could do that.
I was on one, and we were visiting island after island, Moldova,
that is true.
and
Slovenia,
and these little tiny places, Morocco.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We were away for 3 weeks, and we went to 13 countries in just 3 weeks. But we were packing every night and getting up every morning at 5. I mean, those are tough. Those are real.
I would not recommend that for great respite.
And because you need a respite when you go home. That's
in fact when we looked
a vacation for your vacation.
Yeah, we got down to Athens. It was the last place. We said, "Oh, Acropolis.
There's Acropolis. We want to go."
Yeah.
But listen to this. Then on the plane, we looked at each other and said, "Hey, that was fun. Where are we going next year?" And we were hooked.
Well, God bless you. 91 years old almost, and you're still enjoying life. You're so blessed.
Yes.
Okay, so let's have some wisdom.
Okay.
If caregivers or for caregivers who feel guilty about taking time for themselves, what would you say?
No. You cannot feel sorry for yourself, or not just feel sorry for yourself, but you can't be upset about that, because you've got to think of yourself. Caregiving doesn't give you an excuse. I mean, you have to be selfish, and let me tell you why. Because you've got to take care of your own health in order to take care of your loved one. And it's just like being on the plane. When you're on the plane, they make the announcements and they drop the mask, and they always say, you have to take that breath first before you give that breath to your loved one. That is about your own health. You have to take care of your health. So you cannot feel bad. You cannot feel like you're selfish. That that cannot happen because you have to take care of yourself.
You know, one other thing I would like to point out is try not to make the one that you're caring for make them the dependent too much. Give them, if they can do something for themselves, let them do it, because that way you become sort of a person who is helping them be helpless. So
Yeah, a therapist.
helplessness, and you let them do it. And I could give you an illustration. Just this last week, I have a knee problem, and I can't get my shoes on. And we were going to go out to eat, and I said, Natalie, you just go on, and I'll stay here. You know, poor pity me. And she said, no.
We're gonna go.
So
we'll work all those little issues out.
Socks.
And so we went, and we had a wonderful time.
Yeah, my wife has the same problem with the shoes, so she goes out in her socks.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
In her
good.
wheelchair. Now, let me ask you a tough question. What if your loved one isn't able to travel? You know, they're really disabled, they're bedridden or whatever. Is it okay for a caregiver to, you know, get someone to watch them and to go by themselves?
Yes, it is. But let's talk a little bit about that. So, yes, you'll definitely want to make sure to have a person, whether it's a family member, come in and take that responsibility over. Or, you know, your home health agency, you know, your home health aide or whomever that you have. But that is extremely important. Now, do you need to make that 3-week trip overseas? No, you don't need to be doing that. But what you
A
could
trip to Starbucks would be like a dream come true,
exactly,
or a
that's
manicure or a massage.
right, exactly.
Just makes
That's
it feel
where I
like-
was going to go. It is very important for you to do that, whether it is to your nearest Starbucks just to enjoy a coffee, especially the pumpkin spice right now, or you know, just a little environmental place, maybe a nice little garden or something that you can go to just to relax and get away. Please do not feel selfish at all, because you really have to take care of your health in order to take care of your loved one's health.
Yeah, because that's what keeps a lot of people, caregivers, from doing anything, because, well, I can't leave them alone, you know. Well, yeah, you can. Well, they won't take as good a care of them than I will. Well, that's true. Maybe you're, you know, the Mr. Super
Right.
caregiver, and but you just need to find someone who can give adequate care. You know, they're not going to die. They'll appreciate you more when you get back. Absence make the heart grow fonder, right?
Exactly. But let me also say that burnout really thrives on stress. So what we really have to do is, you know, the more you keep getting burned out, the stressor, the more stress you get, and that could create, you know, a problem in itself as a caregiver. And we certainly don't want to do that. So I always recommend that we go out. We really do, whether it's just to go to a local garden or local springs, or just down to your Starbucks, or just your grocery store, just to get that, not only that physical away, but that
Right.
to be away mentally. You have to have that. That is extremely important, because you're not doing your loved one any good if you're
Right.
so stressed out and you're burnt out that you're showing that with your face, because
Yeah.
they're picking that
That's
up.
what I was gonna say.
My dad
They
would
begin to
pick that
feel it
up.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
It's
you don't want that.
contagious.
Yes. Yeah, and you certainly don't want to lash out on them. You know, as we know, some people that are caregivers are taking care of people with dementia. You know, and sometimes they can lash out or not
Right.
understand what you're going through. So it is very important to take that break, whether it's just a very short break.
Hey, girls, I can't believe how fast our time has gone today. I looked up at the clock. How can our listeners get a hold of you? I know that you're lobbyists for caregivers.
Well, you can go on Amazon. Our book is on Amazon. Have a love affair with travel. That will take you away. These stories will take you away. Or if you want to, it would take you away mentally. But if you want to physically go away, we have tips. Also, you can go on our website at www.travelersatheart, travelers@heart.com, and you spell it out, travelers@heart.com. You can learn about me and my mom, and kind of what we've been through and what we do. And also you can have access to our book too as well there.
Yes. And I'm at caregiverdave.com. I'm also Caregiver Dave on Facebook. 34,000 guests on there helping other caregivers. Debbie, how can we get a hold of you if
I'm
we
at
want to find out more?
mayordebbie.com, or you can go to Amazon and check out Debbie Peterson Integrity 101 and see what I have to say about the very things that Natalie's doing in terms of shaping government.
So again, a big thank you to all my listeners out there every week, all over the world, tuning in and making us the #1 caregiver podcast on the internet. So until next week, same time, same channel. May God richly bless you all. Thank you all for coming on the show today.